Notes. This is the very first video of the unit of notes, so we are going to get started. And I know this is going to kind of maybe be a new start for you, but I really feel like this is an awesome way to do notes. I don't believe in just solely doing video notes, but then again, we also don't have enough time to just waste 3 days a week doing notes. So this is going to be our compromise. So Unit 1 notes, put your name on it, get ready to go. You're going to be pausing and then hitting play and then listening to me. I'm going to keep it short, 15 minutes tops for each video, because nobody wants to hear me talk too much. Ain't nobody got time for that, right? So pre-Columbian era and colonization. Let's get this party started. Now the very first slide you got here, and I know this is kind of a new style of notes for you guys probably because this is our very first one, but what I have here is I have a 1, 2, and then I'm going to add a 3 on the very first slide. You'll notice you have some blanks, and here on your notes, the very first slide, you have the very first 3 things you write. So what you're going to do right now is you are going to go and touch whatever device you're on, your iPad, your iPhone, your computer. You're going to hit pause, okay? And I want you to pause this, get down this information, then hit play. I'm going to talk for 30 seconds and we're going to do it all over again, okay? So pause. You better be hitting pause. You can't write and listen at the same time. Okay, so hopefully you hit play again. The first thing you're going to write is pre-Columbian time period. First thing I want you to make sure you notate or highlight or circle is pre-Columbian. Pre meaning what? And I want you to talk to me. I don't care if you look like a crazy person. Pre meaning what? Before. And then Columbian, what's the root word of Columbian? Columbus. So before Columbus. Then it tells you the first Americans came from Asia. What you're looking at, and when you're looking at your video right here, we're looking at Siberia in particular, okay? There is going to be something in the Ice Age, okay, that is going to be known as the Bering Strait. Repeat after me. The Bering what? You better have said Strait. A lot of people during this time period back then, about 25,000 to 12,000 BC, cross over by way of the Bering Strait. They're following a food source. It's a very gradual migration, and they come down into, as you can see for the red lines here, they come down into very gradually. You know what gradual means, right? Slow down into North America. So that is how we get them there. This is what the Bering land bridge looked like. Bering Strait, whatever you want to refer to it. That's how we get people here in North America, okay? That is going to be right there, Bering Strait. Now, again, you got a new slide, so what's the first thing you're going to do? Pause. Okay, so now you should be listening to me after you've written everything down. So it says 35,000 years before he sailed the ocean blue. Who is? Christopher Columbus. And if you have to say in 1492 he sailed the ocean blue, you do it. I don't care how you remember the information. It could be a nursery rhyme. It could be literally a trick. I don't care. Remember it. So you know they crossed over by way of the Bering Land Bridge. We already talked about that. The ice melted and humans started to pass over this land bridge that has appeared. They took their time. The one thing you're writing down right now is, or you should have already written down, I should say, the travelers averaged only 1 mile of migration every 2 years. That is slow. I live 10 miles away from Caprock. It would take me 20 years to get home every day after school. Then it would take me 20 years to get back in the next morning. So we are talking about a gradual migration, a very gradual, slow migration. And a lot of the times when you're talking about that much time, you're talking about a lot of culture that develops during that time. So we're not talking about something that was just like, oh, I guess there were people there. There were people there. They had their own culture. They deserved to be studied. The other thing you have here is, did you know that before Columbus discovered the New World that there were how many natives? How many natives did you just write down? 100 million. Circle it. There were 100 million natives, and literally when he landed, the Aztec capital was bigger than any European city, and it was definitely more beautiful. Next slide. Pause. All right. Says 2,000 cultures and counting. 2,000 languages. I want you to circle 2,000 cultures and 2,000 languages. You should have already written it down because you paused, okay? Now with that, I want you to answer this for me. You better answer it, okay? 2,000 cultures, 2,000 languages. If I asked you to pick, is that a simple thing or an advanced thing? What would you say? Advanced. Now look at the next bullet point, okay? The first word in, you didn't even have to write it because these are guided notes, is agriculture. Circle that, please. Agriculture. When you talk about people in Mesoamerica, by the way, did I make that a different color? I sure did, so you better circle it. That means Middle America or Central America. And when you think of Central America, what's the #1 country you should think of? And you might want to write it down on your notes. What are you thinking? Central, not north, not south. What's in the middle? Mexico. They had running water, clean streets, botanical gardens. They were agriculturally based. They are not hunters and gatherers, okay? That's going to be your natives in North America that you're thinking of. But literally, Mesoamerica is going to be extremely advanced with lots of language, with lots of buildings and building structures, I should say, things like that. The other thing I did, and I went ahead and I put a star by this and I made it red, so you better know it. Explorers dominated the native inhabitants due to 3 things. You better know them. Weapons. Out beside weapons, I want you to write something. Technology. Diseases. Out beside diseases, do you remember the #1 disease Columbus and the other Europeans and Spaniards brought over? Smallpox. And the use of tribe rivalries. They took and they used the tribes against each other, which is very, very smart, really, really manipulative, but still, that's how it went down. So basically, Europeans come over, death and destruction. Natives in Mesoamerica definitely did not have a chance. Now, again, new slide, pause it. All right, reasons for exploration. I'm going to go ahead and just say that 4 things in particular need to stick out to you. And guess how many things I made yellow? 4. So that's going to give you a good hint. Okay? I always will tell you exactly what I'm looking for, especially on tests or short answers or anything like that. I'm telling you right now, my class is super easy to pass if you just pay attention to what I'm saying. Want of wealth, tales of gold. Renaissance ideals. You knew that the Renaissance was happening over in Europe, yes? I put 2 things here, humanism and optimism. The idea that the Reformation, we can do anything, etc. There's this massive change going on with the Renaissance. And they said, I want money, because everybody wants money. They said, I can do anything. Oh, by the way, what's a really good place to try and get trade with? Oh, yeah, Asia. Anybody remember the specific country in general? India, spices, all this kind of good stuff like that, the silk, etc. And here's the other thing, and these 2 are at the very, very bottom, and I have them as 2 bullet points. To be honest with you, I probably should just connect them, so you might bracket them. But they had the ability. They had ships, they had access, and I want you to circle something. The mariner's compass. Ooh, this brings up another thing that you've already written before. Technology. Make sure you understand the reasons for exploration by the Europeans into Mesoamerica. Now, pause this one, get it down. Okay, so this is a big one. Okay, I'm going to need you to go ahead and follow me on this one, okay? So you should have already gotten this down. This right here, you'll notice I put out beside this slide, essay. Anytime you see me do something like this, it means I am going to absolutely grill you on this. It's going to be something that definitely needs to stick in your brain until the AP US History test, hopefully for the end of time. Now, one thing that happens in 1492 when Columbus gets on the ship, or when any basically Europeans get on a ship, okay, before, after, etc., is they are going to load up and they are going to come over to the New World. Again, they probably weren't really meaning to. They just ran into it on their way to what they thought was India. But when they arrive in Hispaniola, Indies, anything like that, as soon as they get off the ship, they bring their culture with them. And those exchanges of culture, okay, or goods, or disease, or whatever happens to come with it, is going to be known as actually a, y'all should know this from world history, an exchange of cultures or cultural, did you say diffusion? I hope you said diffusion. Right? Cultural diffusion out beside this slide. I might be looking for it on your note check. Now, cultural diffusion for the Columbian time period, during this time, is going to be known as the Columbian Exchange. See that right there? I want that circled and starred right there, Columbian Exchange. Now, this cultural diffusion, what did the Europeans get introduced to when they got off the ship? They saw corn, they saw tobacco, they saw tomatoes, they saw avocado, they saw rice, they saw indigo later. They saw a lot of great things. And can you make money off those things? You better believe you can. Can you make a really good dish out of that thing? Oh yeah, you can make some really good dishes. You can feed yourself. Tobacco you can sell. Ooh, tobacco makes tons of money, even though it'll kill you in the end. Don't smoke, okay? But Literally, you have a lot of good things that Europe's introduced to. But go over here. The Americas were introduced to, what's in capital letters? Disease. Explorers were basically biological weapons. Now, the nice thing is that, these explorers, these Spaniards brought horses and cattle, and they brought weapons. That's nice and everything, but they normally use the weapons on the natives. But the really big thing they did is they brought a common cold, smallpox, influenza, anything like that. The Columbian Exchange, while it is cultural diffusion, it is definitely a one-sided deal. Europe hit the jackpot. The old world hit the jackpot. The new world got demolished. In reality, and I like how I put this down here, okay? In reality, the old world, Europe, brought death and destruction to the natives. And the new world, Americas, gave the old world, Europe, new life. It really does open your eyes to who got messed over in this situation? Mesoamerica. But history is written by the victors. Have you ever heard that? And that's what ends up happening. Here's a really good image for your Columbian Exchange. A lot of people are going to get this confused later on. There's something called the triangular trade. Triangle has 3 points. The Columbian Exchange only has 2. You have, from Europe, disease right there. Livestock, some other stuff. But then going back to Europe, look at all of this life. Potatoes, tomatoes, corn, tobacco in particular. Money, money, money. Okay? That's your Columbian Exchange. And that's the end of video 1. I hope you got everything down because I will hold you responsible. I don't have the best scores in Amarillo just for expecting nothing. Alright, tune in for the next video.